While families with low incomes are disproportionately hit by single mothers, it's clear that acknowledging and addressing the intentional marginalization of fathers, especially those from Black, Indigenous, and communities of color, is a necessary step to ensuring intergenerational cycles of opportunity. The evidence is clear. Fathers, regardless of residential or relationship status, play critical roles in children's and families' health and well being. Ascend at the Aspen Institute and the Kresge Foundation Human Services Program convene fathers and leaders to identify policy barriers, programmatic best practices, and opportunities across sectors to more effectively engage fathers in efforts to support child and family well-being. And I'm honored today to be with three of those leaders for this conversation. So Tony, I'd like to start with you and then Fabi move to you and hear just why are narratives so important to supporting fathers in two-generation work to ensure child and family well-being?
Narratives are critical because statistics don't tell the full story, and sometimes they don't tell the story at all. Antiquated traditional family narratives where men are almost exclusively, primarily breadwinners, and the women are responsible for caregiving. I think those are really short-sighted and detrimental to families and fathers, and especially the fatherhood field. I believe it limits learning potential and growth for the families. Children don't get the best versions of their parents when we feed into these narratives, and parents are pigeonholed as caregivers and breadwinners. Men who are willing to be caregivers are deterred by these gender norms, and they lack confidence in their skills as dads. And one of the things that I know that the more you practice something, the better you get. So men are very capable at being caregivers. Um, as we know, statistics are showing today that many men are opting to stay home, and they're stay-at-home dads, and they are the primary caregivers. So times are changing, and the roles of fathers are evolving.
Data presents why we need services, right? Why they're needed. But at the end of the day, they're just numbers, right? And unlike human stories, they're never going to provoke the emotion. For instance, this week, literally, we had United Way call us for their campaign and say, hey, can you all get us a family that we can follow and show the impact? And so we sat down and we're like, which family have we touched with the 5 social determinants of health and that we did some dual generational work with? Who was it? And sure enough, I mean, we have families where they came in with, a family strengthening program. Mom and dad did financial empowerment. And then dad went in and did um, our workforce. Now we're doing electrician, plumbing. We're doing the robotics with the teenagers and doing the summer internships with those children. Head Start with the other. When those families go and tell another person, hey, I changed it, I did it, you can do it too, you can do this for your kids, that's also so powerful because I mean, we can tell them as much as we want, but when their neighbor, where their brother, their sister, someone that looks just like them that has the same struggles tells them that they can do it, that's also very powerful for them. So that's that impact.
Thank you, Fabi and Alan. We know there are like harmful narratives and racism are perhaps no more pervasive in any space than the criminal legal system. Um, but I know there's been a lot of progress there lately, or at least significant progress. And so would love to hear just where you've seen progress in the ways that we support fathers for child and family well-being, or at least what are some examples of ways that we've been able to remove barriers to their ability to contribute to child and family health and well-being.
I come to this space with different identities as a father, as a person born and raised in Flint, Michigan, in a lower middle class family, first time college graduate. I'm in long term recovery, and I'm a formerly incarcerated person. And I include that last part as an identity because of how much that it shaped my life, both with its role during a transformational period of my life, very much connected to my recovery, and its role shaping my career. So I'm a big proponent of maintaining bonds with children and their incarcerated parents. and then setting those incarcerated parents up for success by giving them access to things like education, which many, particularly those from Black and Brown communities, have been disenfranchised from having access to in their communities because of structural racism. And higher education levels of achievement translate to lower odds of going back to prison, to the point where someone who participates in college while they're in prison is 48% less likely to go back. This makes communities safer for our children. It saves money at a rate of 5 to 1. And most importantly, it transforms their lives like higher education did in my own life. They pass that inspiration on to their children. I've talked to many dads, doing my work, visiting prisons across the country, who say their children are now more excited about going to college than ever. When I was a dad coming home from prison and setting out to be a caregiver to my daughter, I hit roadblock after roadblock after roadblock for housing, for employment, for higher education. And that sets dads back and makes us less able to care for our families. And so we need to eliminate these types of barriers. And I think we're seeing more and more of that. And that's a good thing, but there's definitely more work to do.
Absolutely. Alan, Tony, and Fabi, thank you all so much for this conversation, for your leadership as always, and your partnership with us at Ascend and with the Kresge Foundation, and most of all for your commitments to children, to families, and to being rooted in communities. So thank you.